Hey guys, welcome to the Commander Lounge. Yes, finally at the Commander Lounge we actually have a Commander deck tech. Sorry guys, I was really into Pauper for a while, and then I've been playing a lot of video games, and just life period happened, and just haven't gotten a deck tech to you guys in a while. And sorry, but we got one here now, and this is Blinks and Flicker with Linvala the Preserver. Linvala the Preserver is not the first printing of Linvala. The first one was like it kept people from like activating abilities. Like it was a it was an insane card. This card is not as insane. Like I'd really like picking commanders that kind of fly under the radar. Not that many people play with, and not that many people are going to target me when they see it. So this is why I also picked Linvala, and I also love the art of it. And I do love the abilities that she has. So let's get into it. 6 mana for a 5/5 flying angel. And when it enters the battlefield, if an opponent has more life than me, I gain 5 life. And then also when it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more creatures than me, I get a 3/3 white angel token with flying onto the battlefield, which is really nice. I really like that. I really like being able to flicker or blanket to keep gaining life to survive, or keep putting creatures out to either just go wide to block or attack with. So that's why I really like her. This deck is a control blinky flicker deck. If you guys don't know what blinking or flickering is, I'll explain it when we get into it, when we get closer to the blink/flicker cards. But what this deck does is that it creates as much value from the cards you put out as you can, and then you control the game, and you either win through a whole bunch of tokens, getting beefy and slamming in, or you win through Linvala commander damage. So yeah, let's get into the lands first. Utility lands first. Reliquary Tower, important card to have, especially if you're facing group hug decks. No maximum hand size is nice. Next, Strip Mine, get rid of problem lands, always important. Tectonic Edge does the same thing, just important. Temple of the False God, it's basically mana ramp. Buried Ruin, I really love Buried Ruin in monocolored decks, and the reason why is because monocolored decks usually run artifacts to fill in the void, like the void of the color pie that they're missing, I guess you can say. So like it's just really nice to be able to recur the cards that your color is usually missing, because usually you're not running too many artifacts that help in that situation. So that's why I like Buried Ruin in monocolored decks. Next, Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. I also love this in every monocolored deck because it basically Cabal coffers for your devotion to the color of your choice, which is nuts. It gives you a ton of mana. Next, Mishra's Factory. It was the only land I had for a mono white deck. It's a good man land though. Don't get me wrong. It's pretty good. So next, New Benalia. It enters the battlefield tapped, but you get to scry one, and I love scrying. Scrying is awesome. Next, we got the Cycle Lands. I always think it's important to run a couple, especially like 1 to 2 colors. I usually run 2 Cycle Lands in the deck. So we got Secluded Steppe and Drifting Meadow for our cycles. And then I believe we have 28 planes, and they're all the Return to Ravnica city art, which is sweet. Love that art. Got the promo version and the regular version. So into the mana ramp section. First one, Soul Ring. Soul Ring is just fantastic. It ramps. Mana Vault, another mana rock that ramps you like crazy. Mind Stone, not the greatest of the bunch, but it's something. I like it. Wayfarer's Bauble, Rampant Growth on an artifact. Pretty sweet. Seer's Lantern. I really like this card. I really love scrying. I told you guys this earlier. Love scrying. Still love it. Being able to scry every turn is really nice. Especially because my decks, I don't run tutors. I know some of your guys' ears are bleeding because you guys hear me say that over and over again in videos. But I don't like tutors. I like scrying. I like digging. I like drawing a ton of cards. I like randomness. But I still like, trying to get there through strategy at the same time. So that's why I do scry things. I like it. Hedron Archives. This is another new one that I really want to play with. 4 mana, tap for 2 mana. It's just mana ramp, and also you can pay 2 and sacrifice it to draw 2 cards, which is sweet. Burnished Heart. One of my favorite ramp cards. I will even play this in green decks. I like it so much. You pay 3 for a 2/2. Pay 3, sacrifice it, get 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield, tapped. Really good. Next is Cage Sun. Cage Sun, well, I'm going to pick white. All my white creatures can get +1/+1. And then whenever I tap a land for white, it's going to give me 2 white instead. So it doubles my lands and pumps all my creatures. It's really good. All right, now to the card advantage section. Crystal Ball. Guys, guess what? I still love scrying, and I honestly think Crystal Ball is probably one of the best cards in Commander. I think it's insane. I've had so many times where this card actually won me the game. Like, I'd done something crazy, but because of Crystal Ball, I did these crazy things. I think it's underrated. I think it's when I build a deck, this is the first card that goes into every deck. Love Crystal Ball. Great card. Skull Clamp. I'm gonna make a bunch of little duders. What's the cool thing about making little token guys is killing those token guys right away for 2 cards apiece, which seems really good. And I can also put on Linvala to increase the commander damage and also not protect her, but get insurance for her demise, I guess. Next, Mentor of the Meek. I'm playing little dudes are going to come out. When they come out, I pay 1 to draw a card for them. Seems good. Seer Sundial. I'm not too sold on this card. It's alright. I don't know if it's going to stay in here forever, but we need other ways to draw cards, so that's why it's in here. So whenever a land enters the battlefield under my control, I can pay 2 and draw a card. So it's alright. Staff of Nin. It's Phyrexian. It's a 6 mana Phyrexian arena that you don't lose life off of, but you can ping instead. So I love this card. This is another one that goes into a lot of my decks. Being able to ping things and be able to draw an extra card every turn is very nice. Next to the removal section, we've got Sword to Plowshares, exile target creature. Its controller gains life. If you're gonna get rid of a creature, exile it, because there's a lot of way to recurse things in this format. Intrepid Hero. I think this is another underrated card. This thing kills the non-indestructible Eldrazi's, which is nice for 3 mana 1/1. It's hilarious. This guy is just beastly. Being able to tap it to destroy target creature with power 4 or greater is pretty sweet. So that's why it's in here. Next, Revoke Existence. If you're gonna remove something, exile it. I really like being on the safe side, just exiling everything. So this exiles target artifact or enchantment. So it's pretty sweet. We're gonna move up a little closer. Next is Oblivion Ring. Once again, if you're gonna get rid of something, exile it. The thing is with this is that when the Oblivion Ring leaves the battlefield, that non-land permanent comes back. But otherwise, it gets rid of the non-land permanent, and so, as long as this stays around. Banishing Light is the other version of it. It does the same exact thing. Well, not the same exact thing. The other one, you can actually blink in response to actually exile it permanently. I'll explain that when we get to another card that's mostly going to get blinked more for that. Next is the Wrath spells. We have Wrath of God, of course, because it's a Wrath. Destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated. Really good. For you guys that like playing indestructible stuff, we got Hallowed Burial. So instead of destroying everything, we put them all in the bottom of their owner's library. So that's a way to get around indestructibility, which is nice. Now my Oceanit buttons. We got Plunder Cleansing, destroy all non-land permanents, and Perilous Vault, exile all non-land permanents, and then you have to exile this, of course. But really good, really nice way to get out of. I think everybody should have Perilous Vault in their deck. It's just, it's a great card. It's fantastic. It gets you out a lot of crap. Next to the Graveyard Hate, we have more, but right now we'll show those later. This one's Rest in Peace. We don't have a crazy recursive section. There's no, we don't rely too much on the graveyard, so Rest in Peace is fine in this deck by exiling everything from the graveyard and making sure everything stays exiled. Next is like cards that protect my things and protect me. Make a Stand. I always think, especially if you're making a deck with a bunch of creatures that go wide and everything, it's nice to protect them with have like one thing that gives everything indestructible, and that's what this does. It gives them all +1/+0 and indestructible until end of turn. Next is Safe Passage. It's my fog in the deck. I love fogs, if you guys didn't notice. I think every commander deck should have one fog in their deck also. Safe Passage is a really sweet fog because for 3 mana, you don't just prevent combat damage, but you prevent all damage. So if somebody tries to lethal fireball you to the face, you can Safe Passage and laugh at them. Now on to the cards that blink and flicker. First one is Cloud Shift. 1 mana, instant speed. Exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield. Seems good. Otherworld Journey. Exile target creature at the beginning of the next end step. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Now these cards can be used on your creatures, or it could be used on creatures attacking you. Like if it's about to attack you to kill you, you can blink them in instead. So I really like the blink and flicker mechanic because it can be offensive and defensive. Next is Flicker Form. It is an enchantment that goes on one of your duders, and you can pay 4 mana to exile it and return it at the beginning of the next end step with this on it. So you can do it over and over again, after it comes back from each end step, as long as you have 4 mana open. Next is Flicker Wisp, 3 mana for a 3/1 flyer. And when it enters the battlefield, exile another target permanent, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. More value. Gale Powder Mage, 4 mana for a 3/3 flyer. When it attacks, remove another target creature from the game. Return that card to the player to play under its owner's control at end of turn. So it can blink out another flyer that's going to block an opponent's flyer, or it can just blink one of your things for value. Usually it's going to blink one of your things for value. Next, Eldrazi Displacer. This card is just broken. This card's ridiculous. 3 mana for a 3/3. As long as you can pay colorless and 2 generic, exile another target creature, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So it instantly comes back. It comes back tapped. So defensively, you can actually just blink a bunch of things to tap everything out. Or, offensively, you can blink a bunch of your things for mega crazy value, which is what he does. He gives you value. Next, Wisp-Weaver Angel. I don't know if I'm a fan of this. I don't know if this card's staying in here, but for now, it's in here. It's a new addition. 6 mana, 4/4 flying. When it enters the battlefield, exile another target creature you control. Then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So, it instantly gets back, which is kind of sweet. Conjurer's Closet, sweet, however. For 5 mana, it's an artifact at the beginning of your end step. I may exile a target creature I control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. So, at the end of turn, you get blank value, which is nice. Next is Eerie Interlude. This is my blink everything section. 3 mana, exile any number of target creatures you control. Return these cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So this is really nice because it doesn't force you to blink all your creatures. It's just any number of target creatures you control, which is nice. Because some things you may not want to blink. Sudden Disappearance, however, blinks everything. Exile all non-land permanents. It's target player controls. Return the exile cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So you can exile all of somebody's things, or all of your things. Mostly you're going to be exiling all of your things for value. So these cards aren't blinky cards, but I put them with the blinky flickering cards because they basically just give you more value off your ETB effects and triggered effects. The first form is in Strionic Resonator. It's 2 mana artifact. You pay 2 to tap it to copy target triggered ability you control, and then I may choose new targets for the copy. And then for 4 mana, we have Panharmonicon, which if an artifact or creature entered battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger that ability, you trigger that ability an additional time. Sorry, guys. Hold up a second. I need a drink. I just keep coughing tonight. I'm sorry. Alright, so this card is sweet because your ETB effects trigger twice, which is nice. So what are we going to be blinking and flickering? What kind of value are we going to be getting? Well, the first thing is we're going to blink for ramp / I guess land fixing. Well, not land fixing, but, filtering, I guess you could say. I just like Pilgrim's Eye. I think it's really good in here. Pay 3, 1/1 white flying. When it enters the battlefield, grab a basic land card from your deck and put it into your hand. Solemn Simulacrum. This is blink for ramp. This is really good. 4 for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, I search my library for a basic land card and then put it in the battlefield tapped. And then when it dies, you draw a card. So just remember, guys, from blinking and flickering this, you're not going to trigger the draw card, but you are going to keep ramping, which is really good. So I think that's good enough by itself. Next is blinking for card advantage. Thraben Inspector is really good. 1 mana for a 1/2. I can't believe this card's white. When it enters the battlefield, investigate. If you guys don't know what investigate is, when it comes into play, I put a colorless clue artifact token onto the battlefield, and I can pay 2 to sacrifice it to draw a card. So being able to do that in white is crazy. It's really good. Next is Wall of Omens. 2 mana for a 0/4 defender. And when it enters the battlefield, I draw a card, so I can blink this over and over again and keep drawing cards. Next is blink for removal. War Priest of Thune. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target enchantment. Pretty sweet. Alright, next is Fiend Hunter. 3 mana for a 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, I may exile another target creature, and then when it leaves the battlefield, we have to return that exile card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Now, the cool thing about it is how this is worded. How it's triggered separately. When it enters the battlefield and the first trigger happens, I target something, and before the trigger, before the ability resolves, the triggered ability resolves, I can actually instant speed, blink, or flicker this, and then when it comes back, it will actually exile another thing. The second thing is going to be exiled under this, but the first thing gets exiled forever because this ability never sees anything. So that's really, really good. And it's a nice way to, I guess, cheat the card. But then they fixed it with something like Fairgrounds Warden, where it's all in one text. So you can't do that with this card. But I think it's good to blink and flicker this to keep getting problem stuff out of problem creatures in exile. Next is Palace Jailer. I really like this card, 4 mana for a 2/2, because it uses Monarch. And Monarch is so good. Like, if you guys haven't played Conspiracy, you're missing out. Like, the Monarch's nuts. What the Monarch is that you get a token that says at the end of turn you draw a card, and then when an opponent deals damage to you, they become the Monarch. So then they get that token. The cool thing about this is that when it enters the battlefield, I become the Monarch, and of course I don't expect to stay the Monarch forever, but because this is a blink flickering deck, I can have this entering the battlefield, so I can keep becoming the Monarch. But the other ability is when it enters the battlefield, I can exile target creature an opponent controls until an opponent becomes a Monarch. So it doesn't hold off creature, like it won't hold the creature forever because a lot of people are going to be attacking you and then someone's going to get their creature back unless it's a very scary thing, and that way this card can start becoming political, which is pretty sweet. But I really like this card because it's card advantage in white and its removal at the same time. Well, pseudo removal, I guess. Duplicant, this is real removal. This is 6 mana for a 2/4. It imprints. When it comes in the battlefield, I can exile any non-token creature. And, when I exile it, the duplicant's power and toughness becomes the power and toughness of the exiled creature. This card is sweet because it permanently exiles those creatures. It's removal on a stick that could get crazy big. Next is Luminant Primordial. I love this card. 7 mana for a 4/7 vigilance, and when it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target creature that player controls, and that player gains life equal to the creature's power. This card did work in one of my games. I was actually facing 2 token decks, and I wrathed everything, and I just kept because I wrathed at a good time to have that creature out. I was just blinking it over and over again, just keep from anything happening. It was really, really good. So yeah, I love this card. Next is Angel of Serenity. Once again, there's another double trigger clause thing that's going on here. It's 7 mana, 5/6 flying. And when it enters the battlefield, I may exile up to 3 target permanents from 3 target creatures from the battlefield and or from the graveyards. So it's sweet. You can bring back things from your graveyard that you eventually want back, or you can take things out of people's graveyard that you're scared of, or just get rid of creatures that you're scared of, or creatures that you want to protect. And then whenever it leaves the battlefield, return the exile cards back to their owner's hands, which is nice. It doesn't bring it right back to the battlefield also. I like it because, once again, you can instant speed this before this resolves, so you can do it twice, so you can exile the first 3 forever, which is nice. Next is Blinking for Life Gain. This is 6 mana, 4/4 flying angel, and when it enters the battlefield, I gain 2 life for each other creature I control. It's really good once we get into show you how I make a bunch of creatures. Next for the life game is Resolute Archangel. This card is broken. 7 mana for a 4/4 flying angel, and when it enters the battlefield, if your life total is less than the starting life total, it becomes equal to the starting life total. Sure. What's better than getting out of a bad area and being at being at single digit life and going straight to 40? That's awesome. What's better than coming from 40, doing it again later on from just blinking it? It's value. It's nuts. Next is Graveyard. Graveyard Hate. Stonecloaker is 3 mana for a 3/2 flash flying. When it enters the battlefield, I have to return target creature I control to my owner's hand, and also when it enters the battlefield, I have to exile target card from a graveyard. So it's nice in response to somebody trying to reanimate something, and it can also protect my creatures if I can't blink or flicker them, which is nice. Other way to hate on graveyards is Angel of Finality. This is Tormod Crypt on an Angel. It's 4 mana, 3/4 flying. When it enters the battlefield, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Pretty sweet. Now my recursion section. Got 5 mana for flying protection from black 2/2 with Echo 5. And when it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's just like reanimate on an angel, I guess. Next is Sun Titan, 6 mana for a 6/6 vigilance. When Sun Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. So you can return lands from the graveyard, mana rocks, all kinds of good cheap stuff. Next, I don't know what to put this in, what to section this in, because it's very offensive and defensive. 6 mana for a 4/3 angel flying. When it enters the battlefield, tap all creatures your opponents control. So you can either blink this to tap creatures that are about to attack and kill you, or you can blink this and tap creatures to swing in and kill somebody else. So it's a sweet card. Next is Geist Honor Monk. It's just a nice way to make duders. 5 mana, vigilance, star. The power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. And when it enters the battlefield, I get 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. Pretty sweet. Cloud Goat Ranger. 5 mana for a 3/3. When it enters, I get 3 1/1 Kithkin soldiers. And I can tap 3 Kithkins to give this guy +2/+0 and flying until end of turn. So if I blink this a bunch of times, I can tap it a bunch of times and just keep on making this +X/+0 and flying, which can be pretty sweet. Mirror Battle Sphere is really good. It's 7 mana for a 4/7. When it enters the battlefield with 4 1/1 colorless mirrors. And then when it attacks, I can tap X mirror cards, mirror tokens, and then Mirror Battlefields gets +X/+0, and it also deals X damage to defending player. So it like fireballs him to the face, and it just pumps him up from tapping mirrors when it attacks. It's pretty sweet. Next, Evangel of Helium, great card for a mono white deck. 6 mana for a 1/3. It enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 white soldier creature token, well, a number of 1/1 white soldier creature token equal to your devotion to white. So count all these mana symbols out in play, and then put that many 1/1 tokens out. Pretty sweet. And then on to the ways to win. Once again, you're either winning with Linvala or with a bunch of creatures. What are we doing with those little creatures? We're going to mirror entity them. We're going to have to pay 3 mana for a 1/1, and then we're going to put maybe 6 or 10 into this and make them all XX and gain all creatures types until end of turn. So just make them huge. And last one is Cathars Crusade. 5 mana, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. This gets out of hand when you keep putting creatures out. So yeah, guys, that is my blinky, flickering Linvala, the Preserver deck. Just let me know what you guys think of this video. If you guys like blink decks, flicker decks, control decks, you guys might want to give this deck a try. It's got a lot of angels in it too, so if you guys like your angel decks, this is a pretty good one. It's not fully angel tribal, but it does have a good amount of angels in it. And yeah, if you guys like all that, you guys should give this deck a try. Let me know what you guys think of the video. I will have a link in the description. I will eventually, not yet, but I will have a link in the description below to the deck list. I haven't had to put that up yet, but I will eventually do that. And also, next week, I will actually have one of the new, I will have a deck tech, a customized version of one of the precons from the new Commander 2016 product. It's going to be one of the new Commander or Commanders, hint hint. So I'm excited to show you guys that. So yeah, just let me know what you guys think of this video, and try to take a guess of what the Commander is that I'm going to show you next week. That'd be interesting to see in the comments. So yeah, take it easy, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed, and once again, take it easy, guys. Bow bow.